Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Manny Sahota, and I'm here with Rahul Srivastava. And today we're going to talk about, we're actually going to tackle a really big question everybody has. How do we innovate with AI agents quickly while staying secure, compliant, and aligned with fast-moving regulations? Agents now, they reason, they take action, they plan, treat them like mini applications. And our goal today is simple. I want to show you how Purview Compliance Manager and Microsoft's trusted AI capabilities help you build agents responsibly from the beginning. So at the end, you'll have a clear picture on how Microsoft supports customers just in navigating the tsunami of regulations, from cybersecurity, AI, and privacy regulations, how to leverage automation to create cyber-resilient organizations, and as well practical steps to operationalize your business. It's amazing to see this room full of leaders and innovators, especially in this agentic era. And there's a simple truth we want to share here, right? In every major revolution, from industrial, digital, and now AI, all these eras really depend on one main currency, and that's trust. AI will only reach its full potential when people trust how it's built and how it decides, right? We all still have this tension, especially when we're moving towards this agentic era. We know that AI is moving faster than policy. We have new regulations every month. We have new AI models every week. And during this acceleration, trust becomes fragile, right? So the big question here we have, can we innovate at the speed of AI and still stay secure, compliant, and responsible? At Microsoft, we believe the answer is yes, right? Because when you begin the design with compliance at the core, trust becomes an accelerator, not a barrier. That's why we're investing so heavily in Microsoft Purview Compliance Manager, to talk about the capabilities around data compliance, AI governance, when we're actually working together here, right? So this is what we're going to be touching on for the next 45 minutes, really aligning our vision on both innovation as well as regulation. Now here's a paradox that every leader is navigating today. We know AI is advancing in a place that policy can't simply match. Models, as I mentioned before, evolve in weeks. Governance will still move in months. On top of that, we know regulations is fragmented across regions and industries. We have regulations. We also have standards and frameworks to consider, right? So there's a lot of friction here that global organizations face. And that's why trust and compliance can't be something that you add later. It can't be bolted on after the facts. So the paradox here is clear. Innovation is accelerating, regulation is multiplying, and organizations that win will be ones that align both together. So when trust becomes part of your architecture, you unlock speed, clarity, and confidence. So let's take a look on how we help you make that real. For the past decade or more, we've talked about really securing applications and data. Now AI innovation is really introducing a new layer, and that's agents. So these aren't just chatbots. Agents reason, they plan, they take action, and each agent, as I mentioned before, is like a mini application with its own identity and permissions. By 2028, we'll see 1.3 billion of them in our enterprises. So that's 1.3 billion new identities, endpoints, and data flows. Now, while we're trying to think about how CISOs adopt AI really at scale, there's a few hurdles that we hear our customers that are top of mind to our customers. The first is data oversharing and leakage. Sensitive information is flowing into new models with tight guardrails, and once it's in, it's hard to undo. Second, this is most common, AI threats. Agents introduce new identities, new permissions, and new attack paths. And 88% of organizations are worried about prompt injection and emerging vulnerabilities. Third, we're hearing this more than ever, especially in the last few years with the wave of AI regulations, on top of the wave of cybersecurity and privacy regulations customers have, and that's regulatory pressure, right? More than half leaders say they don't fully understand how AI will be regulated and are looking for guidance. So these three patterns are actually consistent everywhere. Govern the data, secure the model and agents, and stay aligned with fast-moving regulations. Now let's double down on the pace of regulations here, right? There's also the pace of regulatory change, right? Evolution and amendments to new regulations. Every 4 to 5 days, a new regulation on an AI, cybersecurity, data protection emerges somewhere in the world. And what that essentially means is your compliance posture becomes outdated as soon as you update it. So we can't really work on manual process anymore, and we can't talk about quarterly reviews on compliance after the fact. We're also tracking 1,000 policy initiatives across 69 countries, spanning AI, privacy, cybersecurity, digital sovereignty. 127 nations now enforce privacy laws. So for global companies, that means every product decision, every AI agent action carries regulatory implementation. So the takeaway here is simple. You can't keep up manually, you can't bolt on compliance after the fact, and you need a governance layer that adapts as fast as regulations evolve. So this is just a list of the AI regulations frameworks. Most of these haven't existed nearly about 4 to 5 years ago. Now every region is really defining guardrails on how AI agents must be built and governed. We know North America has the Canadian Artificial Intelligence Data Act. There's a NIST AI risk management framework in the US. Across Asia, Japan, and China, and India, they're rolling out their own major frameworks. LATAM focuses on Brazil's EBIA. I've tried to pronounce this about 3-4 times. I actually can't, so I'm just saying EBIA. And Australia and Asia are introducing new action plans focused on responsible AI. So the message is clear here. AI regulation is universal. Compliance cannot be added later, but it must be built into the architecture. Finally, we're going to touch upon the trust economy, right? At Microsoft, we see trust not as an idea, but as an architecture. This is the trust economy, a system that connects you to how to govern data, manage risk, and respond to regulation. First focus being on data governance under Microsoft Purview. It really starts with visibility. Microsoft Purview discovers and labels data across clouds so you know where sensitive information lives. The second piece is around risk and compliance with Microsoft Purview Compliance Manager. And this is a tool that actually turns thousands of regulatory requirements into automation controls in real time, right? So when customers if they may be on E3 or E5 and understand how to get the greatest value of their investments, the core is actually really starting on understanding how to build a resilient practice. And that means aligning your security, identity, purview stack to regulations that impact you. And as they evolve, Microsoft Purview and our AI-powered regulatory templates will actually help you stay compliant in real time, right? And finally, responsible AI, Azure AI Foundry. And so basically when it comes to building agents, this is the main tool that helps you put in guardrails to ensure that these are compliant. And so now we're going to show you how this works across Purview. I'd like to invite Shri Lakshmi Kothwal to take us inside the framework. Over to you, Shri Lakshmi.
Hey, thank you, Manny. It's 3 p.m. I have a very critical task to ensure that not everybody is going after a good lunch. So my name is Shri Lakshmi Kothwal. I'm part of the data compliance pillar of Purview, handle both product and engineering. Let's jump right in. So Manny said a lot of things about compliance and the scale of AI and how it's going to blow us away. But let's get real for a moment. Imagine an AI app that is making a hiring decision for you, or deciding whom to give a loan to, and when you ask for the reasons why it chose an X person, you don't get an answer. A chatbot that sometimes gives harmful messages out, or an AI voice assistant that is giving away unintentionally sensitive information or personal information about you to someone else, or an AI image generator which is unable to explain its creation. So when you can't see how decisions are made, when you can't trace what happened, and when you can't stop misuse, that's not a bug in the system. That's a trust crisis. And here's the real risk. When AI becomes unexplainable, unpredictable, unauditable, we start losing trust. This is where regulations come into picture. Regulations force us to build transparency so that every decision can be explained. It expects fairness so that bias can be fixed. It demands that every action is explainable, accountable, which means that you have to log and monitor every action. Now, these are not just rules. These basically are guardrails that turn AI into a risky experiment to something that is business essential. Now, when we start meeting these controls, something very powerful happens. The same AI app or your AI agent becomes explainable, auditable, traceable, and you start trusting the system. I just want to understand a bit of the audience. How many of you are aware of Compliance Manager as a product in Purview? That's nice. So I'm assuming a lot of you come from the compliance world. So every organization today faces this critical challenge of bridging the fast-paced, changing, complex regulations to the security tools within the organization. This is where Compliance Manager steps in. It becomes like your command center, right? It translates these complex regulations into controls and actions, connecting you into Purview for any kind of data governance, data security, data compliance kind of actions, to Entra for identity, to Defender for app management, and other M365, etc., Microsoft related solutions. This gives you a complete unified view, and you get real-time visibility and control of your AI deployments. In the next few slides, I'm going to walk you through Compliance Manager and how this is going to give you that unified view. Now, like I said, Compliance Manager becomes your organization's command center to build trust in AI. And the best part, it's been designed not just for technical folks in your team, but also for business leaders, CISOs, your compliance managers, etc. It starts with AI baseline, which gives you an instant automated assessment of your AI compliance health. No technical jargon here. This is a clear, simple, actionable snapshot of how your compliance posture is and where you need to put your attention on. But then, regulations are always changing. That's where our AI-powered regulatory templates come into picture, helping you stay ahead of the new laws and regulations so your business is never caught off guard and you're scrambling to react. Once you know what you need to fix, that's where you integrate and map into Purview, Entra, Defender, Microsoft 365, a lot of other solutions in Microsoft. I'll cover some of them in the coming slides. And the real value for leaders, you will see your compliance posture in real time right in Compliance Manager. That means less risk, fewer surprises, and the confidence to make bold decisions and innovate, knowing that your AI is explainable, auditable, and ready for the future. We are quite excited to launch AI Baseline for M365 Copilot. This is an automated assessment feature that gives you a clear, instant view of your compliance readiness before deploying AI at scale. Let's just get a little bit more into details on what is AI Baseline. So before you launch any mission-critical AI, you want to know that you're truly ready for a takeoff. That's where AI Baseline comes in. It's automatically included when you purchase an M365 Copilot license, so that every organization gets this essential compliance check built in. Here's what makes AI Baseline so powerful. It has been built, it has been derived from some of the leading regulations, like your EU AI Act and NIST AI RMF, and it has close to 80 controls. Yes, 80 controls from these regulations, from these acts. This means you get a comprehensive report, not just a surface level check. Now, where will you find this? You will find this in your M365 Admin Center and your Purview, DSPM, vNext. In both these areas, you're going to find AI Baseline templates included. I'll just walk you through those. So what you see here is your Microsoft 360 Admin Center, the box below, strengthen data compliance. This is where our AI Baseline is getting embedded now. This is the launch that we are doing. So you not just see this here, you will also get details of where is your compliance posture with that particular baseline. It tells you how many of those controls are fixed by Microsoft, how many controls you need to fix as an organization. So you get a very initial view here, and when you get into view details, you get into Compliance Manager, and you get into details of the AI Baseline over there. This is your Purview DSPM vNext. And the center box which says improvements, actions pending. This is where you would get to see your compliance health, and you also have on the same page a right side full control panel where you get to see what actions are managed by Microsoft, what actions you implemented, how many are pending, and you get a complete full picture of where you stand as far as compliance is concerned for your AI deployments. Okay, this is going to be a very interesting one. Let's start with something every leader in this room will appreciate. Audit is included out of the box with your M365 Copilot license, which means it's coming free, no added cost, and no extra setups required. Every action taken by an AI app or agent, like every access it does of a file, every website it gets to, every chat conversation it has, every email it's sending out, the data is logged. And here's the critical part, critical information. This data is logged and stored, retained for 180 days, which means that you have a robust window to investigate, respond, and demonstrate compliance whenever you need. And why does this matter so much today? Because what happens is AI regulations not just demand compliance, they also require proof. Proof that you know who accessed what, when, and why. With Purview Audit, you're not scrambling to put together this information in case of any kind of an audit that happens. You're ready from day one. This means that you are always ready to look ahead, innovate boldly, and demonstrate that your AI deployments are compliant at any point in time. We are excited to announce AI-powered Regulatory Templates and Compliance Manager. This is an intelligent tool that helps you keep up with the changing regulations. This is where the part that I said initially that while you have AI baseline that does your initial assessments, with the ever-changing regulations, how do you keep pace with that? This is where AI-powered regulatory templates comes into picture. So imagine you're driving in a new city and overnight the traffic rules change. Now without a good GPS, you're going to feel lost. And this is how most organizations feel today with the changing regulations that come in very frequently. With AI-powered regulatory templates, you are never left guessing. So what does this tool do to us? You can upload any new regulation. Let's take the latest EU AI Act. It instantly converts it into actionable controls that you can map to specific actions across your environment. And here's the best part. These controls are customizable, meaning you can edit the existing ones that came out of this feature, or you can add new controls and do what is needed to fit your organization needs. It's like having a GPS system that not only tells you the route, but also helps you decide which route you want to take. The other aspect I'll quickly touch on, when you're uploading a PDF file using AI-powered regulatory templates, it basically scans it for malware via Microsoft Defender for storage so that we have security inbuilt right from the word go. So when it comes to deploying AI with trust, compliance cannot be an afterthought. It must be built in right from the start. And that's exactly what Purview's Compliance Manager delivers. With pre-built regulatory templates like your EU AI Act, NIST RMF, ISO standards, DPDP Act, Compliance Manager automates the mapping of controls and tracks evidence in real time. This means it's not just you're checking boxes, but you're getting a clear visibility into the compliance posture of your organization. Imagine having a real compliance score at your fingertips. You know exactly where you stand, what's working, and what needs attention. And you get that score in Compliance Manager. For C-suite leaders, CISOs, legal experts, technical teams alike, it's about transforming compliance from a burden into a business advantage. You can move fast, innovate boldly, and at any time prove that your AI deployments are secure and ready for the future. When we talk about deploying AI with trust, it's not just about technology. It's about making sure every decision is fair, secure, and accountable. And that's where regulatory controls come in. This slide, I'm just going to dive a bit deeper into the purview controls that we have. Right? Imagine your AI is, you have an AI app that is screening a job application. It is a system that is trained. If it is a system that is trained on biased data, it is going to reject eligible candidates based on gender, ethnicity, and other factors. Now, that's not just a technical glitch, it's a real world risk and impacts the brand reputation and compliance. Right? With Microsoft Purview, you can put guardrails in place to prevent these issues from happening. Controls like information protection, data loss prevention, insider risk management, purview audit, e-discovery, communication compliance, data lifecycle management, and several other solutions. And each of these bring to you their own advantage and value. Information protection, which protects sensitive data from use by AI systems. Audit, of course, all high-risk systems getting audited. Data lifecycle management, which controls retention and deletion of sensitive AI data. And communication compliance, which detects biases and unfair and other sensitive practices within the organization. For business leaders, when you have set up controls and mapped it to actions in this space, it basically gives you the confidence that you can move fast and innovate, knowing clearly that you have the right guardrails in place across your deployments. The next slide is the beautiful part of this. We don't just support Purview as a solution for mapping. You can also map into Defender for app management, into Microsoft Entra for identity, all the Microsoft 365 suite, Exchange, SharePoint, OneDrive, Teams, Azure, Windows. Not just this, we also support some third-party services like AWS, GCP, Salesforce, and Zoom via the connectors. Look at Compliance Manager as if you look at compliance as a complete smart dashboard, AI baseline, what I spoke about initially, is like your basic checkup. It gives you the initial compliance posture. And then comes in your AI-powered regulatory templates, which is a live feed of the changing regulations that are coming in. Then comes Purview, Defender, Entra, the other third-party services, which are basically the ones that help you put controls in place. And then your compliance manager, which gives you the end-to-end, a smart dashboard of how the compliance posture of your organization is looking like. So this is the unified picture of how you can ensure that your organization across these multiple solutions is a one-stop shop to meet your regulatory requirements. Now that I have spoken about this, we would like to demonstrate this to you in the product. And Rahul, can you please take over? Thank you.
All right, hey everyone, my name is Rahul, and I'm going to be actually demoing all the cool features that Lakshmi talked about. So before we actually get into the demo itself, I want us to be on the same page with respect to what does certain terms like regulation, controls, and actions mean, because we'll be using it a lot in the further slides, right? So regulation is basically a set of rules, laws that you follow. We'll take an example of, let's say, like driving a car, right? So a regulation is going to be something like the government saying there are safety laws around driving. Now, control is a measure that you actually put into place in the regulation so that you basically meet the regulatory requirement. In this case, you can imagine that all the speed limit signs that you see on a road, those are the ones that are sort of the controls. Now, what is an action? An action is something that you perform that ensures that you are meeting the requirements of the control. In this case, it could be something like putting your car on cruise control for the speed limit, and that sort of ensures that you are meeting the control requirements and hence the regulatory requirements, right? So with that out of the way, let's switch over to the demo. Right? So the scenario that I'm going to talk about today is a very common scenario nowadays, which is, let's say you are a large organization, and what you're looking for is to deploy M365 Copilot in your tenant. Now, this Copilot is going to go to hundreds and thousands of your users, right? And they're going to use it. Now, the main question that comes before you deploy it is, you ask your admin, am I compliant with, let's say, the EU AI Act or the NIST-RMF Act, right? That's the question that we have asked the IT admin. Now, if you put on the IT admin hat, where do you actually start, right? So we start with what we call the AI baseline, right? So for you to find the AI baseline, you go to M365 Admin Center, and within the M365 Admin Center, you go to the Copilot controls to CCS. Now, in that, you will see something called the strengthened data compliance, right? Now, I want you all to focus on the middle part of this, which sort of talks about all the actions that need to be performed. You will see a total of 292 actions that are listed here, right? Now, these 292 actions actually map to the 80 controls that Lakshmi talked about. And these 80 controls are a distilled version of the EU AI Act, the NIST-RMF, and other ISO regulations that are there. Now, these 292 controls that you see are further split into two parts. One is 157 that you see, that is completed by Microsoft, and the other one that you see is completed by our organization. They are totaling 135 in number at this point of time, right? Now, the Microsoft actions are things that Microsoft, by the virtue of basically meeting so many regulations, we already meet these controls, and then you get them completed out of the box. So you're already basically checking some of the requirements that AI baseline has, right? And when you start off, you will see that you have not completed any of the improvement actions. This is something that the IT admins have to actually go and implement. Now, on the right side, what we have also done is we have sort of bucketed all the actions that are there into categories so that you can actually pick and choose which one is most important for you. Let's say Protect Copilot when it's deployed is one bucket that you can pick, and then you can complete all the improvement actions there. Or you can pick some other bucket that's more relevant to your organization. Now, if you're more curious, you can click on View Details, and it's going to open a panel which gives you details about what those 157 actions are that Microsoft completed, right? And then it also basically tells you what can you do to improve your protection or improve your compliance score, right? So this is sort of an overview that you get out of the box as soon as you have M365 Copilot in your organization. Now, what's the next step? The next step is, what do I do to improve my compliance score? How do I actually complete these 135 improvement actions? Now, for you to do that, you can click on View Recommendations in Microsoft Purview. And at this point of time, we have taken you out of the M365 Admin Center, and you have landed in Purview portal in the Compliance Manager product. In that, you can see that there is an AI baseline assessment that is there for M365, and it will give you a compliance score with respect to AI baseline. At this point of time, that score stands at 63% of assessment actions completed. Right? If you look at more details, you can see that the Microsoft managed points or actions are already completed. They are like 100%. And then there are certain actions that are not completed, which are at 0. Right? Now, as you implement your improvement actions, you are going to see that this score is going to start ticking up. Right? So we have done this for one other tenant where we perform certain improvement actions, and you can see that as you perform these actions, your compliance score has gone from 60% to somewhere around 75%, right? That's not all. Now, once you have made these improvement actions, these are also reflected in the AI baseline that you saw on M365 Admin Center. You can see that now I have 135 actions that have been completed. Now, if you keep chipping away at all the improvement actions that are there, your compliance score is going to keep going up, and at some point of time, you are going to be 100% compliance with the AI baseline, right? So that sort of ticks off the first thing that you needed to do to ensure that you are broadly compliant with the AI regulations that are there, and that's what AI baseline gave you. But what was the original question? The original question was, am I compliant with the EU AI Act, right? Now let's talk about that problem. Now, what's the traditional way to actually go about becoming compliant with any sort of regulation, right? The first thing that you do is you sort of download this huge document that is there, which is full of text, full of controls. You need to parse it, extract each control from this regulation, sort of put it in an Excel sheet, and then you need to map actions to it yourself, and then you need to actually go and perform those improvement actions, right? And since this whole thing is manual, it is vulnerable to making mistakes, and that basically leaves a compliance hole for you. So what I'm going to show you today is something that I find magical, which is AI-powered regulatory templates, which is going to reduce the amount of time it takes for weeks or months to few minutes to go from a raw regulation PDF to getting improvement actions, right? So let's look at that. So I go to Compliance Manager, the overview page, and I go to Regulations. Now in Regulations, you're going to see a button which says Create New Template. When I click on Create Custom Template, it's going to actually ask me to upload a PDF document. At this point of time, the IT admin should go to the EUAI page, download the EUAI PDF, which is around 200 plus pages, and then they should upload that document here. When you upload the document, it's going to ask you for some metadata, like the name of the template, and it's also going to ask you for the service. Now, in this case, since we are doing this for M365 Copilot, I'm going to choose Microsoft 365 as the service that I want to generate the improvement actions for. So I've done all that. Now let me click on Scan and Extract. When I click on Scan and Extract, it is going to actually perform 3 actions, right? The first action is something that Lakshmi had talked about, which is going to actually scan for malware or ensure that the file is not corrupt. If you pass that step, the next step that it's going to perform is extract the controls out of the regulation. And the third step it's going to perform is map these controls to improvement actions, right? And this it is going to do in a matter of minutes. So when I click on the new entry that was created, you can see that it's scanning for malware. Now, sometimes it could happen that it did contain malware or the file was corrupt. In that case, it's going to actually tell you that there is an issue with your file. You need to upload the document again, maybe get a document that is not corrupt. So in this case, I changed the document. I have an actual EUAI PDF. Now, this is the first step where magic happens, right? Now, this whole step is actually going to take a few minutes. But since this is AI powered, it's going to actually read the PDF and it's going to extract all the controls out of it. Once you extract all the controls out of it, the next thing it's going to do is it's going to actually generate the actions that are relevant for the M365 service and map it to the controls. This is the second step where actually the magic happens. And this is also going to happen in a matter of minutes. Now, once this is done, you will actually get something called the draft template. You can click on the draft template, and here you go. This is the template that was generated by actually parsing the EUAI Act PDF, and it generated controls out of it, right? And if you look at it, on the left side, it's going to give you some overview. If you look at the bottom, it's going to actually it's going to have the description. Now, this description has been extracted from the PDF itself, right? Now, if you look on your right, you'll see the list of all controls that were extracted by this AI-powered tool. It's going to have information about the control ID. It's going to have information about the services that these controls map to. And it's going to also have information about all the actions that it mapped to, right? So let's say I click on one of these controls called Prohibited AI Practices, Article 5.1. Now, you can see that this has now been mapped to 4 actions by the tool. And you can actually check all the details of these actions. You can also edit these actions. Now, let's say for this control, you thought that some certain actions were actually not created. In that case, you can click on Create New Action and add actions of your own. Once you have added actions of your own, you might also think that there are certain Microsoft actions that are there in the Compliance Manager library that were not added to this control. So you can click on import actions, and it will give you a list of all the pre-existing actions that we have in the compliance manager library today. You can choose from this and add it to the control. So now if you're happy with this control, we go back up and we look at the list of all the other controls that are there. Let's assume that you're happy with the list of controls, but you know that there was a control that was never mapped, never extracted from the EUA Act PDF. So I can also add my own controls, and once you add your control, you can also add actions to that control. So now I've added all the actions that I needed to add. I have also added all the controls that I needed to add, and I have also reviewed all the controls. I'm happy with these controls. What do I do next? I'll actually click on Publish Template. It's going to give me a list of all the controls and the actions that are part of this template, and you can review this, and if you're happy, then you can click on Publish. So we now have the EUAI Act as a living, breathing template in Compliance Manager, and this whole thing actually just takes 10 to 15 minutes to do. Right? This is something that we have tested in and out with multiple PDFs, and it could vary based on the size of the document, but between 10 minutes to 15 minutes is usually the time it takes to extract everything and create a template out of it. Right? So now as an IT admin, you have converted the EUA Act into a list of improvement actions. Now what do I do next? The next thing I need to do is I need to perform the improvement actions so that I am compliant with the EUA Act. How do I go about doing that? I click on the new template, and I'll create an assessment out of it. Now an assessment is an instance of this template that I'm going to create for the M365 Copilot product. So in this case, I'm asked for the name and the group. I click on that. Then I'm asked to select the services. In this case, we did it for M365, so I'm going to choose Microsoft 365. And then I review the assessment, and if everything looks okay, I can create this assessment. So now the assessment has been created, and as soon as you land inside the assessment, what you'll notice is, again, just like the AI baseline, you have your compliance score shown here. It says 63% of the assessment actions have been completed. Now there are certain improvement actions that have not been done, and when you actually complete those actions, your score is going to improve. So let's see an example of an improvement action that we are going to perform and improve the compliance score. So I click on improvement actions. You can see a list of actions that are there. Now in this case, only 6% of the improvement actions have been completed. So how do I improve this score? So what I'll do is, I'll select one action that I want to implement. In this case, I'm going to pick something that is very relevant right now, which is establish a policy for monitoring AI assistant interactions. When I click on this, you will be taken inside this action. It's going to have some status at the top, like implementation status says not implemented because the action has not been taken here, and test status is also none. The most important part here is the part at the bottom which says how to use Microsoft solutions to implement this. This is going to give you detailed instructions on what exactly needs to be done here so that the requirement of this action are completed. Right? In this case, it says communication compliance policy needs to be set up. So what the EUA Act is saying is you should be monitoring all the AI interactions, and what the action is saying is you can do that using a product called communication compliance. If you set up a policy there, the requirement of the control is going to be met. So what do? I click on launch now, and I'm taken directly to the communication compliance product. I click on create policy and click on unethical interactions in AI apps, and I set up this policy. So once this policy is set up, I go back to Compliance Manager and I look at the action. Now what you can see is the implementation status has changed to implemented, and the test status has changed to pass. So what has happened here is, as soon as I create the communication compliance policy, Compliance Manager is able to read the status of the communication compliance policy and update the action automatically. Now what happens because of this is, if I go back to the progress bar, the compliance score, you will see that the compliance score has actually improved from 63% to 64%. And if I go to the improvement actions, you can see that the improvement action has changed from 6% to 8% because of the action that I took. Now, if you keep chipping away and you keep performing these actions, you are going to be 100% compliant with the EUAI Act, right? So what we have seen is we started with a problem, which is, am I compliant with the EUAI Act? We looked at the AI baseline to broadly see whether I'm compliant with the AI regulations or not. And then I used the AI-powered regulatory templates to generate the template. Then I perform improvement actions to improve our compliance score. And if you continue doing that, you're going to be 100% compliant with the EUAI Act. Right? So that solves the problem for the IT admin. Now I'll bring in Lakshmi to talk about some industry examples. Thank you.
Thank you, Rahul. Rahul kept using the word magic at many points in time. This is a solution that is going on in private preview at the moment. And one example that I want to take from the pharma sector, I had actually had something from finance services as well, but I think we're running short on time here. So we had run this entire end-to-end with close to 60 plus customers. And what we have is a theme that I'm going to run you through with pharma, which is the most highly regulated industries that we have today. So this particular organization runs clinical trials across Asia and Europe, each region with its own privacy laws, AI obligations, and cross-border data sharing rules. Before Microsoft, every trial expansion, every model update was a new risk in the waiting, which slowed down their ability to innovate. With Microsoft Purview, they built in a data lineage, a unified, cross-border data lineage map. Compliance Manager transformed the EUAI Act into EU Act and GDPR requirements into controls and actionable steps. And the AI-powered Regulatory Navigator templates kept the legal, privacy, and clinical trials aligned with every regulatory update that impacted the trial operations. And what can you expect from this? There was a reduction in audit time. This particular organization was able to launch 3 new AI models across 10 new markets. And compliance did not hold them back. In fact, it unlocked speed, clarity, and confidence for them. With this, I'm going to stop, and I will hand it over to Manny so that he can let all of us know how we are going to work and partner together going forward on this feature.
Thank you so much. So I think I heard both Shri Lakshmi and Rahul both mention magic, but really it's the AI-powered regulatory templates that give you the real snapshot time so you can future-proof and build a resilient organization, right? So this is what we talked about in the last 45 minutes, right? Turning compliance into confidence and confidence into AI innovation, right? And most importantly, that really is the starting point for customers, right? So when organizations want to understand how to build a cyber-resilient, or optimize their cybersecurity posture, building cyber-resilient organizations, it's really to understand how to leverage automation to align with the web regulations that impact organizations. So just a few call to actions, explore, take the time to see Microsoft Purview Compliance Manager operationalize trust instantly, understand what your organization's compliance posture is and how to leverage automation to take remediation actions. Second is engage, use our AI-powered regulatory templates as your daily compass. What I really love about these AI-powered templates is you can actually do future simulations on regulations as they evolve, right? From when the law is enforced to when it's enacted, there's actually this gray area. So future-proofing the direction of your organization, I think that's a wonderful solution. Third is make trust everyone's job description from engineers to executives. The organizations that lead with trust don't just comply, they set the standard for responsible innovation. We have a few other sessions, both Thursday and Friday. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Thank you.